So we're just on the morning break now of day 4, Tranche 3, Phase 1 of the Undercover Policing Inquiry. We've been hearing from Sara, a woman who was deceived. We've been hearing from Sara, a woman who was deceived in a long-term intimate relationship by the undercover police officer James Thomson, who used the cover name James Straven, and also stole the identity of a dead child, Kevin Crossland. We talked so far this morning. It's been talking about Sara's activism with Croydon Hunt Sabs, about how James Thomson was already embedded within the group when she joined, and there was a lot of suggestion that there was other forms of criminality, or there's some sort of violent hardcore that he was looking to infiltrate. Sara rejects this, so there was more regular people who went out sabbing, but that was about it. We were shown the first report on Sara. She was volunteering at a wildlife hospital at the same time, and there's sections of that where she's, the first report on her talks about her helping to construct a duck pond. That's the kind of level of reporting we're looking at. There was a lot of other stuff that we heard about. James Straven's nicknames, or James Thomson is his real name. Jay-Z Monaghan, who's questioning, keeps swapping back between the two. She's his nicknames of Posh Sab and James Blonde. He claimed to not know of this, but Sara says that she regularly called him James Blonde, sent postcards to him in this name, and that he found this amusing. We heard a lot about the violence that was meted out against Hunt Sabs by Hunt supporters and the police, about L4 being run over by some hunters in a Land Rover by the Surrey and Burstow Hunt. It was nearly hospitalised him, that James Thomson visited him regularly in hospital. James Thomson himself was on the receiving end of violence from Hunt supporters, being beaten around the head with a golf club. Wendy, another woman who he deceived into long-term friendship, was also hurt in that same attacked with bats by Hunt supporters. We started looking at the detail of this trip to Bordeaux that James Thomson constructed towards the end of his deployment, on some sort of cock and bull story of some sort of reprisals that Hunt Sabs were planning against the Hunt for running over L4. We heard a fair bit of stuff about what it was like being a Hunt Sab. It's really similar to stuff we've heard all throughout the inquiry about the Hunt Sabs. There's a lot of this exaggerated risk that was pointed out during the opening statements, that the undercover police pretend that there was some sort of violent risk from activists. These were violent activists. I mean, this is absolutely at odds with the reality. Though obviously there was a lot. Sara was asked a lot about the violence on Sabs. She said there was a lot of verbal, but hers, though she did say herself she rarely got out of the van. She was didn't have the fitness to do a lot of the sabbing, so she was a map reader. We heard a bit about the protests against Shamrock Monkey Farm and Hillgrove Cat Farm. These were vivisection sites, and the home visits on the vivisectors that would happen afterwards. James Thomson took part in these. Sara didn't know anything about it. Obviously, Sara was deceived into an intimate relationship by James Thomson. Some of his reports talk about her having relationships with other men. She rejects this. So these relationships hadn't happened, or in one case, refers to someone as an ex-boyfriend. She said, well, she hadn't actually started going out with him by the time this report was written. It was kind of later that same month. So, this kind of these reports kind of try and make her out for something she wasn't. There's a thing that supposedly, it appears that James Thomson's ex-wife and children lived only 2 streets away from where Sara lived. He says this was some sort of threat to them, but she points out he chose to start a relationship with her after she'd moved to that place. So it was him who created the risk there. We're just on a really short break now, so I can't go on for too long. I'll do a longer video at lunchtime and hopefully get some of the other voices of other activists who've been following proceedings. Bye for now.